Hello everybody. So today I'm going to be making some Morel Cream Sauce from the Morel Mushrooms that I found 2 days ago on March 8th. Yes, you heard that correctly, March 8th. We had 2 weeks of very unseasonably warm weather for us here in Tennessee, so that caused the Morel mushrooms to pop up a little early. Luckily, I was able to take advantage of that. I went and checked my spot and I found about 3 pounds of Morel mushrooms. So again, today I'm going to be making a Morel cream sauce. I'm going to be using my enameled Dutch oven to do this. I'm going to start out by chopping up all of these morels. Then I'm going to be getting an onion sauteed up with some butter, and then we'll be adding in all of our ingredients from there. If you want to go ahead and get your ingredients together, I'm going to be using some heavy whipping cream, some chicken stock, again an onion, you could use a shallot, butter. I'm going to be using some Italian seasoning, of course our morels, and then I've also got a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up. And then I'm also going to be preparing it for freezing it. So I've got some freezer safe jars to fill these up, to put these in the freezer as well, so we can eat this over the next couple of months. Hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks we'll get some more morels. We do have a cold snap that has come back in like it traditionally does in March. It looks like it's going to last another week to week and a half. So hopefully once that is through, we'll get some more morels and we can do some more things with morels. But for this first batch that I found, again, let's go ahead and make this Morel cream sauce. So follow along and hope you can find some morels and make this as well. This is such a really, really good dish. It's a good way to use your morels. You serve it over pasta. So, so good. So follow along and watch as we make this. If you like my content, which is a lot of outdoor recreation here in the heart of TAG, which is short for Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia, like and subscribe for more. Obviously, I do mostly caving, but I do love to do other things. Right now, it's crappie season, so hopefully we can get a fishing video going for you guys and some more mushroom videos. And then, of course, throughout the summer, we'll do plenty of other outdoor activities as well. So let's get to cooking. So I went ahead and chopped up my onion, but I'm gonna wait till I get some of my morels chopped up before I start sauteing that onion, because these will go in right after that onion, and I don't think I'll have all these chopped up in time. So just to show you guys, I have already cleaned all of my morels. I actually soaked them in salt water for a couple of hours, and then I stored them in this container in the refrigerator for the last 2 days until I could get to where I could prep them for this cream sauce. And again, I have about 3 pounds of Morel's monster, big giant yellow morels here. I actually found the largest morel that I have ever found before, and that's this whopping monster right here. It measured right at 9 inches. So this recipe tells you to cut the morel mushrooms in half. But what do you do when you get to a giant mushroom like this? Obviously, if you cut it just in half, it's way too big. So I'm going to cut them in half, and then slices is how I'm going to do these larger sizes. So these small ones, we'll just cut those in half like that. Little cute mushrooms. And as you see, Morel mushrooms are hollow on the inside. So that's another way you can identify these mushrooms, is the stalks and even the caps are all hollow. So this one is a little bit larger than bite size, so I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. Now the recipe that I am making calls for 2 cups of morels, but I'm making larger quantities of that, so I'm upping the quantities of everything in my recipe. I'm nearly tripling this recipe today. So just in the short amount that I've already cut up, I've already got almost 2 cups. Now, when you get some that are this size, you don't have to cut them. Just throw them in the mix. Same with this one. It's a little guy. Just throw it in the mix. Now, another way I like to cook these is when I have them this size, you can cut a slit in them, not all the way down, and take a cream cheese mixture. Take some cream cheese, mix it with any other kind of shredded cheese that you like, any kind of seasonings you like. Put that into a piping bag, cut your slit in your mushroom, and then you can pipe that cheese mixture into the inside hollow portion of the morel. Then you would want to bread it. You could roll it in an egg mixture with some panko breadcrumbs and then deep fry it. It'll hold its shape when you do that, and then basically it's like a stuffed cheese morel. So that's another good way to cook them as well. So I almost have 6 cups, which is what I was going for today, was tripling this recipe. I don't know why. I can't bring myself to cut this one up yet. Maybe we'll eat it this weekend. Jason and I will cook something special with it. Definitely the biggest morel mushroom that I have ever personally found. So we're going to get these put back in the refrigerator. And then we're just going to clean this mess up. We're going to start by turning the Dutch oven on a medium-low heat. And we're going to put some butter in there. Now again, the recipe that I am making, a single recipe, only calls for like 1 or 2 tablespoons of butter. But because I am tripling this recipe, I'm just going to go ahead and add a whole stick of butter. We're going to go ahead and add in our onions and start cooking those down for about 3 to 5 minutes. So this mixture is just a little thick with the butter, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding in just a little bit of the broth, and I'm actually using a Tuscany chicken broth. It already has some thyme, marjoram, and oregano in it. So our next step, you can either use a flour or cornstarch for this. you want to go ahead and add a little bit. I'm actually doing 3 tablespoons into this mixture, and this is going to thicken it up later in the cooking process. Now the next step is to slowly start adding in your broth. We're just going to keep mixing this as we add in this whole 32 ounces of broth. We've got all of the broth in there. I'm going to stir this really good, and then we're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn it on a medium low, and we're just going to let it come up to temperature. I'm actually going to go ahead and put the top on for this as well. So the broth mixture with the onions and butter has been cooking for about 7 minutes now. I've got it on a low heat. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'm also going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning to my mixture. We're going to add 5 of these little scoops because I've got 5 jars that I'm filling. Next, we're going to slowly, very slowly, pour in our whipping cream. So again, because I am tripling this recipe, I am using an entire 32 ounces of the heavy whipping cream, and I'm going to slowly start pouring this in and stir. My heat is on a low heat right now. Whoop. Okay. We're going to continue to let this cook for about another 5 to 7 minutes on a medium-low heat before we add our morels. Also, this should thicken up just a little bit over the next 5 minutes or so as well. I'm going to put the lid back on. Get my spoon rest. There we go.
Oh my God. Holy moly's. Holy cow. That's the biggest morel I've ever found. The biggest one.
Now you definitely want to keep an eye on your mixture while it's heating up. You don't want it to get too hot and to boil over. I am using a 4.5 quart size pot for this. And when I add those morels in, I'm really going to be maxing it out. So I've actually added just a little bit more salt, and I gave it a little taste as well. You could also add in some cheeses if you wanted to melt down some Parmesan or anything like that in here. You could certainly do that as well. I like to add my cheese on the top when we serve it. Okay, so I have been heating and stirring this for about 7 minutes. I've turned the heat down just a little bit. I do not want it to boil. If this cream starts boiling, it could get out of control and boil over really fast. So definitely keep an eye on your temperature. And now we're going to start adding in the morels. Just gonna start dropping them in. It's a lot of morels. And again, we're freezing this. I'm making this meal to freeze it so we can eat it over the next couple of months. I would say it's good in your freezer for up to 1 year, but hey, who lets something like this last a whole year in their freezer? And I just want to let this cook for maybe another 5 minutes. Let those morels get nice and heated through. And then I'm going to turn the heat off and we're going to jar it in some freezer jars. Freezer safe jars. So I'm not letting it come to a rolling boil per se. I mean, I guess it is starting to boil now. But I don't want to boil this very hard. I just really want to simmer it, is what we're going for here, is just a very light simmer. So now we're going to get ready to put it in our jars. I've already cleaned and sterilized these jars. We're going to move this just a little bit closer. Right there. We're going to use a spoon here and then this filling thing here for our jars, and we're going to scoop it out and then fill the jars. So now we are ready to scoop from the pot into our jars so we can get this in the freezer. Look at all those morel mushrooms in there. We're just filling up our jars. Making sure every jar gets lots of morels. We might have a little bit more than what I can get in my jars today, and that's okay. We can go ahead and consume that now. Just make some noodles to go with it. Just gonna wipe all these rims off. Got a little bit on some of the sides of the jars, so you just want to get all of that off. Now, I am not canning these. These are freezer safe jars. So I am putting these in the freezer. And again, they will stay good for up to a year. But you still want to clean your jars. You still want to have, you know, a good seal on them, even for the freezer. But again, ooh, that jar is hot, so be careful. Got my lids here. And we're just going to put these on there. These will not expand in the freezer. I left about an inch of headspace though. And then we're just going to tighten these on. You don't have to put these on too tight. We're going to be storing these upright in the freezer. Just finger tight is all we've got to do. Okay, so that gives us 5 jars full of Morel Cream Sauce. Again, I'm going to freeze this so you don't have to can it. You don't have to worry about that. It'll stay good for up to a year. These are the wide mouth jars. They are, it's about 2 cups, I would say, in each one of these jars. I guess you could also say these are pint-sized jars. 2 cups are 1 pint. So we're going to pop these in the freezer. So for now, I'm just going to put these in my upstairs freezer. And then once they get frozen, I will move them downstairs to our deep freezer. And actually, I've got one in here still from last year. So we need to eat this one up, but it's probably still good. So there you have it. Some wild morel mushroom cream sauce from some morel mushrooms that I found 2 days ago here in Tennessee. I cooked them up and prepped them to get them in the freezer so we can eat them over the next coming months and continue to enjoy their flavor and their taste. If you've never found any morel mushrooms, I hope this inspires you to go out and look for some. Also teaches you a way that you can cook them and enjoy them. If you like my content, make sure you like and subscribe for more outdoor recreation here in the heart of TAG, which is short for Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. Thanks for watching.